What's going on at YouTube? It is your boy Dominick here with DGA Live. If you're new to the channel, basically what I do is I talk pop culture, I talk gaming, I talk music, horror, movies, you name it, anything. My channel's all over the fucking place. And so this one is a little bit different. I've been a BMX fan since I was a kid. Grew up in the 80s riding everything from Huffy, T. Murray, Dino GT, PK Rippers, Mongoose, the whole nine yards. And if something you may not know about me is I used to work in a bike shop. I got Barnett certified, the whole nine yards, and worked in a bicycle shop for about 3 years until they went out of business. So I got a huge passion for bicycling, and I wanted to do a review on a Mongoose Title Pro XL, because Mongoose is not the same company they were back in the 80s. They're not made in America anymore, out of California. They've changed hands many times, but they are actually owned by Pacific Cycles now. And Pacific Cycles is, they also own Schwinn. And a lot of the design is still done in America, but they are manufactured in China. And they had a really bad run for a long time with some very shitty quality Walmart bikes, which brought the Mongoose name almost to shit. Well, they've redeemed themselves. They've came out with a couple race bikes. They're on their second year now of the Title Pro series, and they recently just came out with a Title Pro Elite. So this bike here on Amazon, as of the date of this video, you can buy this bike for $279.99. So $280 complete. Now, this bike is not stock, as you can see. I have dumped about $220 into it, and we're going to tell you why we did this. So they claim that this bike is a beginner race bike, and out of the box it's race ready. Well, I disagree with that. Out of the bike it is not race ready. The Elite Pro is, and we're going to talk about the differences. So what do you get for $279, right? Basically what you're paying for is this frame and the tires. That is the only name brand components on the bike stock. Okay, I'm going to show you the stock wheel real quick. Here's the stock wheel. See if I can get it to focus on here. These are the Exposure Infinity. Now they give you a great hoop. This is a double wall aluminum hoop. But where they skimped on is the hubs. These are some of the cheapest hubs I've ever ridden on. Now this is the front tire. These are non-sealed bearings, so basically that means there is just loose ball bearings in there with a cup over it. And it was the same with the back wheel. Now the back wheel ended up wallowing out on me just over 3 rides. Hence why I bought the Skyway Mags. And if you know anything about Skyway Mags originated in the 80s. These are the Tough 2s, and the Tough 2s are still sealed. There's sealed bearings up in here, as you can see right here, but they don't have the aluminum hub anymore. It's a plastic hub, and these are the Tough 2s. You could still get the original Skyways with the anodized aluminum, but you are going to pay double the price. This wheel set was about 140 bucks. The tires are a Horizon XLR8, or some people call these Accelerates. These are decent tires. These tires run about 20 bucks a piece if you were to buy them. So I kept the tires. Now let's talk about the frame. Now the frame is actually really good on this bike. It is 6061 aluminum, but it is a T1 hardening process. This is where they save money. So if you're comparing it to 6061 aluminum frames from Redline or GT or something like that, those are going to have T6 hardening. So what that is yes, it's the same alloy as those bigger name bikes, But the hardening process that they go through is going to determine strength. And just to give you an idea of the difference between T1, like this frame is, to T6, T6 is roughly 35% harder, making it 35% stronger, 35% stiffer. Okay? But that's not a deal breaker. They did go with an integrated head tube. As you can see here, that's a huge plus for me. Rather than having pressed in cups, the bearings are set inside the head tube. Okay, race style geometry, that's important. Okay, so race style geometry means that we are going to have a little bit longer seat stay and chain stay, especially on an XL bike, meaning it's going to be a little bit harder to wheelie. So it's not a trick bike. It's going to keep the front end down a little bit more. Okay. They also shrink the triangle to bring center of gravity down. And they went with, on this particular bike, they went with a Euro style bottom bracket. So as you know, there's like basically when it comes to BMX, there's usually 3 styles of bottom brackets. You have American, Mid, and Euro. American is going to be the biggest, where there's a cup pressed into the frame, and then the bearings are placed into that cup. Mid, which is the most popular on freestyle bikes, is the BB. The bottom bracket's a little bit smaller, the shell. They eliminate the cup and press the bearings right into the frame. Euro is the smallest, and Euro you find on a lot of road bikes, and there's a ton of different Euros. BB86, ISIS, the whole 9. You have external cups, internal press fit, and then you have cartridges. This bike comes with a cartridge. Let's see that. That screws into the bottom bracket. Now cartridges are the heaviest of the Euro series. Okay, this is kind of what threw me for a little bit of a loop, is because they went with a 3-piece crank on this particular bike. So we got the big, this is stock right here. This is it's 175 millimeter chromo. So it's 100% chromoly here. The spindle is 19 millimeters, 100% chromoly. This is aftermarket. I put on this free agent sprocket, because the stock sprocket was stamped steel. It was flimsy. I can actually grab it and bend the sprocket. It was a piece of shit. So yeah, definitely upgraded the sprocket to a aluminum alloy sprocket. This is a 45 tooth from Free Agent. I like this sprocket a lot. But the crank arms are stock on this. Now this is what kind of threw me for a loop. Going with a 3-piece chromoly crank like this is extremely strong, but extremely heavy. This setup here without the bottom bracket is around 3.5 pounds. Where if they went with more of a race-ready 2-piece hollow crank, which you do get on the Elite, you would have saved about 2 pounds right off the bat. And that's 2 pounds of rotating weight, okay? So why is that important? Rotating weight, to give you kind of an example, for every pound of rotating weight that you delete is equivalent to 4 pounds of static weight. And the static weight is like your frame, a seat and a seat post. You'd have to get rid of 4 pounds of non-moving weight to be equivalent to 1 pound of rotating weight. That's why a lot of guys go with light tubes, light wheels. Now, if you know anything about Skyway Mags, they're fucking heavy. They're definitely heavy. So I actually set this bike up more for street, is what I did. It's not a trick bike, it's just a bike to go bombing on. And I did order a Redline Proline XL that I should be getting next week. That one is going to be 100% race ready, and I'm going to leave that one stock. Now, back to the Goose. Let me show you what I changed on it, and then I'll show you what's stock. So we already talked about the sprocket. I got rid of the cheap sprocket, I actually upgraded the chain. This is a contrast cut KMC 810, super heavy duty. This is more of a freestyle chain. Yes, it is heavier than the stock racing chain, but it's going to last you a lot longer. Put the Skyway Mags on it, stock tires. Did change out the freewheel. The freewheel that was on the stock wheel was no name, and it was kind of clicky. This is an ACS freewheel. I changed the seat post to an aluminum alloy FMF 350 millimeter seat post. And I also changed the saddle. The saddle is an oval concept race saddle. As you can see, it is padded. And I am going to show you the stock seat. This seat is totally fine for racing. As you can see, it's very short and it's fixed. There's no adjustment on it. So if you were racing, you'd just slam this to the frame and do the race and call it a day. You don't need comfort or anything like that. Put the S&M bar pads on it, just kind of give it a little bit of old school look. I did change the brakes. The brakes were horrible from the factory. They ran a actually no-name brake on it. These are Shimano Alivios with a more of a road pad on it. Now these pads here are set up for road bikes. They are a super soft compound. Normally, if you're gonna run Skyway Mags, because the braking surface is plastic, you would run a cool stop pad. Especially if your wheels are colored. Because if you got a set of red wheels, white, blue, it will blacken, leave a black streak on this. So you want to go with either a clear pad, a cork pad, or the same color pad as the wheel. These wheels are black, so I didn't give a shit. Just went with a set of road pads on it. The pedals are from Wheel Up. These are great pedals. These are not my favorite pedals. I got a set of $100 mountain bike pedals on my Diamondback, and I didn't want to go real expensive on this bike. So these are about, I think these were 25 bucks. And it's just regular platform pedal, because what came with it was, of course, plastic Mongoose pedals. And the studs on it were just a little bit too big to fit in the waffle cups of my Vans, so I kept sliding off the pedals, and that's the only reason why I changed them. It went with more of a like a nipple head or a nail style peg, and these pedals work great. I'm happy. Bottom bracket is stock, as I said before. Crank arms are stock. Bars and forks are stock. Now on the Title, okay, they do use high 10 steel, which is another way to cut costs. Okay, so it's a high 10 steel fork and high 10 steel bars. These are 8.5-inch rise. Okay, so usually in race bikes you want to stay away from high 10 steel because it's heavy. The Title Elite comes with chromo, comes with 4130 chromoly steel. So what's the big difference? I've had a couple people ask me what's the difference. They're both steel. Why is chromo so much better? So to break it down for you, 4130 chromoly is high carbon steel, okay? And the tensile strength on it is around 97,000 pound-inches of tensile strength. Where on high 10 steel, it's around 60,000. So, in a nutshell, rounding it up, chromo is about 40% stronger. Because it's 40% stronger, you can use less material to get the same strength these would, therefore making it lighter. So what some manufacturers have done is they have skimped on the material to make the bike lighter. Forks end up breaking, bars end up bending, okay? But if they use more material, to have the equivalent strength of chromoly, it ends up being heavy. And that's why we're seeing some of these Walmart bikes weigh 30 pounds in a BMX. This one here, stock, before I put the mags on it, was around 23 pounds. And a lot had to do with the aluminum frame. So, all in all, I'm starting to like the bike more now that I've swapped parts. Right out of the box, when I rode the bike stock, it was okay for about 3 rides, and automatically started falling apart slowly but surely. Like I said, my rear hub went in 3 rides. So very disappointing on that. That's what lit the fire for me to go out and buy some parts. Now, I'm probably done with this. Yes, I could change the crank on it. Yes, I could put some chromo bars and forks on it, but I don't want to dump any more money into this, especially now that I have a red line on the way that's due to be here on Monday. So, all in all, decent bike, but just keep in mind, oh, I put these decals on it, by the way, too. Get your goat. That's my gamer tag. And otherwise, it just said Mongoose real big right here in silver. I took all the graphics off the top tube so that this wouldn't clash with it. The only graphics I left on was the head tube and the seat tube and the chainstay. That's it. Those are the only graphics I left. But yeah, all in all, if you're going to buy yourself a Title Pro XL, remember basically what you're buying is a frame. And the Elite frame is the exact same geometry, but you do get a couple things different from it. As you can see here, the dropout on this is an old school dropout. It's just a flat plate dropout. You get a 3D dropout where it's kind of boxed out on the Elite. You also get a different head tube. It's tapered. That's the word I'm looking for. So this is 1 1/8 all the way down. On the Elite, it's 1 1/8 to 1.5 inches at the bottom. So that's super cool that they went with a tapered head tube on the Elite frame. Also, they clear coat the graphics, which you find on higher end bikes with the Elite. These graphics I could peel off with my finger if I wanted to. Basically, that's how I took off all the graphics. I just peeled them off. Came off really easy, cleaned it up, threw my custom graphic on there and called it a day. So, all in all, decent bike. Just remember, if you do decide to purchase this bike, all you're gonna get is, that's worth a shit, is a frame and tires. Recommend getting rid of those wheels, and then you could customize it to your liking, whether you're going to set it up for street and all that good stuff. I don't recommend this as a freestyle bike. I don't ever recommend aluminum frames for freestyling. They're not set up for that. Also, the geometry is set up for racing, so it's a little bit longer. It's a little bit shrunken down this way. They're not as tall, and you get a longer seat and chainstay to kind of keep the front end planted down and make it harder to wheelie. So you can keep that front end planted down and just bomb straight as fast as you can. But yeah, keeping all the stock high 10 steel parts on it, even though it's heavy as shit. I wasn't looking to shave a lot of weight, and if I was trying to save weight, I would have never thrown Skyway Mags on it. Give you a little insight on Skyway Mags. Always keep in mind with Skyways, one plus for them is they're extremely strong this way. Flexing this way, they're not as strong. Just keep that in mind. I've seen guys bust hubs out from flexing it this way. Nice thing about them too is, yeah, they look great. They look awesome. It's more of an aesthetics thing. They don't require any truing. You never have to true a Skyway Mag, so that's a plus. But because they don't run a lip on the inside of the rim, when mounting your tires, you have to be very tedious with it and make sure that the tire sits in there 100%. They're not pushed down this way, and I'm going to give you an example right here. If you watch, I have to redo my rear tire. I don't know if you guys could see that, where it gets high and it gets low. Let's put a little spin on it. You can kind of see it on camera. That's because there's areas of the tire that are down further in the rim than other spots. And what that's going to cause is a wheel hop when you're riding. This is very notorious with Skyway Mags. Even back in the 80s they did this stuff. So all it is trial and error getting that tire perfectly mounted, which you don't have to deal with when you're using a spoked wheel that has lips. It'll clinch, what they call clincher tires. Kind of pop the bead on there and they're set. You set your tire pressure and all good to go. Another thing too I want to mention while we're making the video is the Horizon tires actually have a pressure rating of up to 100 psi, which is great for racing. I love that. I run them around 80-85, but typical BMX tires, they usually top out at 60. Give you a little bit softer ride, a little bit more grip in the cornering, but running these at 80-85, even up to 100, get you to that road bike pressure, which means that you're gonna roll pretty goddamn fast. And the bike is pretty fast. I hang with my wife when she's on her 29 with no problems. So that's it, guys. That is the Mongoose Title Pro XL bike. I'll give you one other thing too. A lot of people ask, what does the XL mean? XL, there was a sticker right here, I took it off, means that the top tube, which is from seat post to stem, this top tube is 21.25 inches long. It is one of the longest BMXs I've ever ridden. If you're old school and you rode those old BMXs back in the 80s, the top tubes were 19.5. Kind of industry standard right now is 20.5. 21 is considered XL. This being 21.25, and then having a 50mm stem on it too, it actually will comfortably ride somebody 6 feet tall. I'm 5'7", and it's great. I have no problems with it. It actually may be a tad bit too long for me, but I'm not complaining. I'd rather have it too long than too short, because you don't want to be banging your knees. So that's it, guys. Any questions on the bike? If you have questions about componentry that's stock and all that good stuff, or just questioning on bikes in general, hit me up in the comments and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Until then, man, we'll catch you on the next one, man. Peace.